The curse of birth. The village of Mwida, nestled between the ancient trees of the Tanzanian highlands, was a place untouched by time. Life moved slowly. Women sang as they pounded maize, elders told stories under baobab trees, and children chased goats across sun-drenched paths. In this village, tradition was sacred, and anything unusual was feared. So, when the midwife ran out of Zainabu's small clay hut screaming, clutching her chest and yelling, "It has a mustache! A baby girl with a mustache!" The village erupted into chaos. People rushed in, whispering, gasping, crossing themselves, or muttering prayers to ward off evil spirits. And there she was, wrapped in a faded kitenge cloth, tiny and pink, her eyes still shut, but unmistakably bearing a faint silver line above her lip, a sign of darkness. Muttered Mzee Bakery, the oldest man in the village. "She is cursed," said Mama Ngoma, shaking her head. "Kill it before it brings misfortune," someone dared to whisper, but Zainabu, exhausted yet fierce, pulled her baby close. "Her name is Amani," she said in a trembling voice. "She is my peace." Zainabu's husband had died just 2 months before in a fishing accident, leaving her widowed and heavy with child. She had prayed every night for strength, for protection, for peace, and now, with trembling hands, she held the answer to that prayer in her arms. But the villagers did not see peace. They saw a threat. From that day forward, Amani was a symbol of fear, of mockery, of whispers behind closed doors. Zainabu, once the village midwife herself, became an outcast. No one came to her hut. No one invited her to celebrations or offered help during the planting season. Children were told not to play near her house. Amani grew in silence. She was a quiet child, watching the world with large, thoughtful eyes. Her silver mustache never faded. If anything, it became more distinct with age, shimmering subtly in sunlight. Zainabu would try to trim it when Amani slept, but it always grew back by morning, smooth, shiny, soft like silk, and undeniably unnatural. When Amani turned 6, she started school. Zainabu dressed her in the neatest dress they had, a sky blue one with white stitching, and braided her hair with colorful beads. She kissed her daughter's forehead and whispered, "Be brave, Mtoto wangu. Your heart is your shield." But bravery had its limits. At school, children pointed and laughed. "Mustache girl," they chanted. "Is she a boy? Is she cursed?" Some even tried to rub her lip to clean it off. The teachers, though not cruel, kept their distance. One told her quietly, "Maybe you should wear a scarf over your face. It will stop the teasing." Amani didn't understand. She wasn't loud. She didn't fight. She loved stories and drawing birds in her notebook. But no one cared about that. All they saw was the mark. Years passed, and the loneliness became part of her. Zainabu did her best to fill her world with love. She told her stories from the stars. "You are chosen, Amani," she would say. "There is power in you. I don't know why, but I feel it." Amani would smile, but her heart stayed heavy. She wished she could pluck the silver hairs away. She wished she could be like the other girls, pretty, laughing, invited to birthdays. But even when she tried to cover the mark, it seemed to glow brighter, like it refused to be hidden. Then, on her 12th birthday, something strange happened. She was in the market with Zainabu, carrying a basket of yams, when a man in a red robe passed by. He stopped, stared at her, and whispered something in a language she didn't recognize. His eyes widened in wonder. He dropped his walking stick and reached for her face, but Zainabu pulled Amani away, clutching her tightly. "Who was that man?" Amani asked later. "I don't know," Zainabu replied, though her voice trembled. "But I saw the way he looked at you. Like he'd seen a ghost, or a goddess." That night, Amani stood outside their hut and looked up at the stars. She felt something stir inside her. Not fear, not shame, but a strange warmth. Like the sky itself was humming a secret, and it was meant for her. Still, the villagers never changed. If anything, their suspicion grew. When crops failed that year, some blamed Zainabu and her daughter. When a boy broke his leg falling from a mango tree, his mother said, "It's the girl. She brings misfortune." One morning, a group of women gathered near their hut, throwing pebbles at the roof and chanting, "Take your witch child and go." Zainabu stood tall in the doorway, her voice steady. "My child is no witch. She is a blessing. One day, you will beg her for mercy." The women laughed, but deep in the heart of Mudamoja, beneath the roots of the baobab trees, the earth was watching. And so was something else, something ancient, something powerful, and it waited, patient as stone, for the girl with the silver mustache to awaken. Whispers of power. By the time Amani turned 14, she had grown into a quiet, graceful young girl. Her limbs were long like the acacia trees, and her voice was soft like the river at dawn. But no matter how much she changed, her silver mustache remained the same, sleek, shining, defiant. Though the children still teased her, they had become more cautious. Strange things began to happen around her. Small things at first. One day, a classmate snatched her notebook and ran off, waving it in the air and shouting, "Look, the witch draws birds." But as he ran past the iron gate of the schoolyard, it slammed shut in front of him, by itself. The boy hit the metal so hard he lost a tooth. Some said it was the wind. Others whispered, it was her. Then came the rainy season. Lightning struck a tree near the school. The trunk split, fire hissing against the pouring rain. Children screamed. Teachers ran. Amani stood frozen beneath the awning, watching the flames dance. Without understanding why, she raised her hand, and the fire died. No water touched it. No wind blew it out. It just stopped. That evening, she sat by the fire with Zainabu, silent. Her mother stirred a pot of matoke, her face unreadable. "Tell me what happened," she finally said. "I don't know," Amani whispered. "I was just afraid. I didn't want anyone to get hurt." Then it stopped. Zainabu set her wooden spoon down. "Your grandmother used to tell stories," she said slowly, "of people born with signs. Children marked by spirits or ancestors. Most were legends. But you, Amani, you are real." Amani looked at her mother, tears welling in her eyes. "Why me?" Zainabu wrapped an arm around her. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not a curse. It's a gift. Maybe even a responsibility." The next morning, a visitor arrived. An old man in a faded brown robe, leaning heavily on a staff carved with strange symbols. His name was Mzee Juma, and he came from the mountains beyond the village. He was a seer, one of the last of the old keepers of lore, thought to be half mad and half prophet. He knocked softly on Zainabu's door. "I have come for the girl," he said. "The one with the silver mark." Zainabu's face tensed. She's just a child. She's no longer just anything, the man said. The earth told me her time has come. Reluctantly, Zainabu allowed him in. He sat on a reed mat and called Amani over. She was nervous, but his eyes were kind, ancient, full of unspoken truths. He reached out and gently touched the silver mustache. Yes, he breathed. It's real. A sign from the Mbegu Yanuru, the seed of light. He explained how long ago, before the colonizers, before even the tribal wars, the land had known children born under certain stars, marked with silver. They were Alakaguliwa, the chosen. He told her that her mark meant more than power, it meant purpose. You don't control metal, child, he said. You call it. Your heart speaks, and the earth listens. He took her into the forest the next morning. There, he taught her how to listen, not with ears, but with her body. How to feel the pulse of stone, the weight of iron in the soil, the quiet hum in the roots of trees. She discovered that she could feel nails buried beneath the dirt, twist copper without touching it, and even sense the presence of someone hidden by the iron in their blood. But power, Mzee Juma warned, came with a price. You must never use it to harm in anger. Once blood answers your call, it is hard to silence. Days turned into weeks. At night, Amani returned home and shared bits of her lessons with Zainabu, who listened with awe and growing fear. Not fear of her daughter, but for her. The village had begun to notice Amani's absence, the flickers of strange light around their hut, the way animals no longer came too close. Rumors turned to fear. Fear turned to hate. One evening, a group of men came to Zainabu's door with machetes and torches. They accused her of sorcery. They demanded she give the girl up. But when one man tried to strike the door, his blade bent in his hand like soft cloth. Another's torch blew out in a wind that only touched him. The men fled. Zainabu held her daughter close that night. You can't hide forever, she said, tears in her eyes. The world will come for you. But you must promise me one thing. Amani looked up. What? Promise me you'll never become what they call you. Amani nodded, but something was already changing in her. The world had given her pain, and fear, and loneliness. But now she had something more, a voice inside her rising. No longer afraid. No longer small, and far away in the plains, beyond the mountains, dark clouds gathered. A group of armed men, modern, brutal, merciless, were moving toward Mwida Moja. They had come for the land, but they would find something far more powerful waiting. The day the sky burned, the sun rose heavy and orange over Mwida Moja, but the village was far from peace. Word had spread, strangers in military trucks had been seen beyond the far hills. Not government. Not police. Mercenaries, their mission? To clear the village and claim the land for foreign investors who had found precious minerals beneath the soil. A mining company had paid for silence. These men were the enforcers. Zainabu heard it first, a distant hum, like thunder. Then, the ground began to tremble. Amani stood at the edge of the village, her eyes scanning the horizon. Behind her, children clung to their mothers. Elders whispered prayers. Men sharpened spears, knowing they were outmatched. The hum grew louder. Amani stepped forward. Her silver mustache gleamed in the early light, and her hands were steady. Mzee Juma emerged from the forest behind her, leaning on his staff. You are ready, he said simply. She nodded. They'll try to destroy us. He looked at her, then at the land. Then give them something they cannot understand. The trucks appeared like monsters, kicking dust and coughing smoke. Armed men in dark uniforms dismounted, laughing, pointing, loaded with rifles and grenades. They looked at the villagers like cattle. Their leader, a bald man with a scar down his cheek, stepped forward. "You have until sunset," he barked. "Leave now, or we will clear you out." Zainabu stepped forward. "This land belongs to us. You have no right." The man smirked. "I have guns. That gives me all the right I need." Amani moved past her mother and faced the man. Her voice was calm. "No," he laughed. "What's this? The freak with the mustache wants to play hero?" That was his last joke. Amani raised her hand. The earth answered, from beneath the soil, rusted plow heads, ancient bicycle parts, iron from forgotten graves, rose. They swirled like birds of prey, forming a wall between the villagers and the mercenaries. The men opened fire, the bullets stopped midair, spun, dropped, then came the wind, not a breeze, not a gust, but a storm of metallic wrath. The debris, now glowing with faint silver light, circled the mercenaries like a tornado. Their weapons jammed. Radios crackled and died. The scarred man reached for a grenade, pulled the pin, only to watch it turn to dust in his hand. Panic spread. Some men fled. Others fell to the ground, begging for mercy, but Amani didn't move. She walked forward, past the whirling storm, her eyes glowing faintly. "You come to take," she said, her voice echoing unnaturally. "But this land has guardians. It has memory. It has me." The very metal in their blood screamed. One man collapsed, sobbing. Another threw his gun at her feet. Mzee Juma watched with tears in his eyes. "She is not just chosen," he whispered. "She is the protector." And then, Amani closed her fist. The storm stopped. Silence. The mercenaries were disarmed, humiliated, broken. Not a single villager was harmed. The sky, once dark with threat, now glowed with sunlight. Days passed. Word of Amani spread far beyond the village. Some called her a goddess. Others, a weapon. But in Mudamoja, she was known by only one name, Mlinzi wa Mwisho, the last guardian. Zainabu held her close that night. "You saved us." "I only reminded them," Amani said, "that we belong to the earth. And the earth never forgets its children." She looked at the stars. Once, they had laughed at the girl with the mustache. Now, they would remember her forever. The end.